I do need to get it redone. DJ Dad's here.
Welcome to another live episode of Above Average Black Men. Hey, it's been 2 weeks since we all been together.
Yeah.
You were missing the first week, and then it was just I was solo last week. So I gotta welcome you guys
out here
back
on the road, man.
You know, so I know y'all out there making that money.
Is progressing.
Well, somebody got to hold it down. But we welcome you to another episode of Above Average Black Men. Yours truly, Chris Pender Sr.
Chris Jr., we're here to inspire, empower, and uplift the community.
Devin Pender is just here to say like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact, let people know, word of mouth, post us, help us out.
We got to get the likes up, got to get the views up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yo, what's up, Wayne? I see you on again, man. We got a constant, man. We got to get your friends to sign on, though, Wayne. Got to get them to sign on, man. But, yo, tonight we got a great show for you. Interesting show. Our youngest picked the first topic. So we have a two-topic night going on. The first topic is we're going to talk about did Kyire Irvin cross the line, free speech. And then the second half, we're going to talk about crabs in the barrel. You know, why African Americans find it so difficult to stick together.
Yeah. Or why is it so easy for us to just tear each other down?
Yeah. So we'll start the Kyire Irvin thing, and I don't know.
Which that ties into this as well. It's not like
it
these are things that are bridged together, and
it does.
We probably going to toe the line tonight. But
so if you don't know, I think everybody does. Kyire Irvin, he tweeted about a movie, Hebrews to Negroes. What you need to know, and the movie has a lot of controversial stuff in it, and doing my research, a lot of stuff that's really just not true. That's just not true. We're kind of embellished with this message about the role that Jewish people played in slavery. The bottom line is, it kind of says, one of the points that Kyrie Irvin points out to is, it says that Jews are responsible for the slave trade, which is not true. Mm-hmm. They participated in the slave trade. They did. But they weren't responsible for it. And
there were a lot of participants.
Yeah. And they weren't responsible for it. And it wasn't any disproportionate numbers of Jews who were doing it versus,
any other
ethnic group that were doing it. Yes. Yeah. So and we all know it got them in trouble because, the NBA got them suspended them. Nike, Nike put them on hold, man. And so the cancel culture is in full effect because, as you brought up earlier, the talk is that he may not come back. I think because of business and teams want to win, he's going to be back, man.
Yeah, he just got to do a number of different things, check some boxes before he can get back out there. Yeah. But like we said, the main, focus is the concept or idea of freedom of speech. Yeah. And before we got on the show, you and I kind of mentioned or said, do we give too much? I put too much onus, on people in these positions. Yeah. Like the fact that he's an NBA player, it holds so much weight. But then the other side of that is, he is an NBA player, so it definitely holds some weight. So it's like you kind of have to agree to it. He has influence.
I think it's a two. For me personally, I think it's a two-way street. I think first of all, as a professional athlete, which is not his fault. It's not his fault. We have put them on such a platform, that they do carry a lot of influence and a lot of weight. My issue with it is, it's only when people disagree with what they say that it becomes an issue.
Right.
And I don't agree with what he said. I think he was unequivocally wrong. Mm-hmm. I think we should not be pushing hate, and things he were talking about were just as not accurate. Mm-hmm. And you put it out there. So I get the part when they say somebody in that position puts stuff out there, people believe it, but also believe the people who just don't do their research. Because an NBA guy is, because this is my point, and I'll get you doing it. He is a basketball player. Mm-hmm. He's not a Rhodes Scholar. He's not a history teacher. You know what I mean? This is not an expert in anything but basketball.
So the opposite side of that, just kind of what's in line with kind of this idea or the framework of what we're saying this. I mean, that almost kind of sounds like not to say shut up and dribble, but you know what I mean?
No, I wasn't. No, see, you misinterpreted what I was saying. I wasn't saying about him not saying. I'm saying, but why are people putting that much clout into what he said?
True.
That's the angle I'm not coming from. He should be able to say not that, but I would never tell anybody to shut up and dribble. What I'm saying is that's like, he should not have that much clout.
Yeah.
That when he says something that, that people are like, ooh, and you brought up a good point, which it takes the next segment, but I'm talking about Charles Barkley himself made money off a commercial that declared I'm not a role model.
He spit on somebody.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But now we're saying because this is a different generation. He's such his role model now. So it's kind of like
he's kind of like leaned into.
And I'm not saying shut up and dribble. What I'm saying is why I would never put that much emphasis on what a professional athlete says when it comes to my culture. When it comes, it's just like Charles Barkley, and I don't want to pick on him. He said something that I thought was totally ridiculous. I was watching the thing on CNN, and he goes, well, it doesn't, whoever's elected has no impact on me. What kind of how would you say that?
But I think kind of even talking about the idea of an athlete and having that type of clout. I mean, historically speaking, like I was just kind of in my mind immediately popped up Muhammad Ali. Like he was kind of socially aware and able to talk about, political issues or social issues. So I think like they do have,
but I think
some kind of leeway, or I don't even.
But the difference is I think Muhammad Ali, he stood for what he believed. Mm-hmm. I mean, he wasn't condemning. He was talking about why he wasn't going to war. He said, I don't want to fight somebody I have nothing against them when I'm being discriminated in my own country. Yeah. So he, and I get what you're saying. So to me, it was a different kind of clout. People weren't sick. They didn't get on him because he was influencing a bunch of people. They got him because he was a black man. He was speaking up, and he was talking out against the great United States of America. Nobody was sitting there thinking he's influencing anybody. This thing with Kyrie Irvin, and I don't agree with what he said. And I'm not saying I disagree with what's going on. My whole point is that we have athletes who have too much clout that we're sitting here saying that this guy's moving the needle one way or another. And I'm not blaming him. I'm just blaming the people who are influenced by that.
Well, this is specifically like for our people specifically. Why are we giving these athletes, the power or this much clout? How come the athletes are seen as our leaders, or we got to look to them for
advice? Nah, I mean that's a great question. I think it's definitely I think that's something that kind of needs to be addressed or talked about within our community.
But I think they have that clout because, and me. My whole thing is about leadership. There's such a huge vacuum of effective leadership in this country. This is, and I'll say it, man. This is the worst group of politicians I've ever seen in my entire life running for office. Now, I've never seen a group of this is like dysfunctional USA. You got Hershey Walker, who is a living walking poster for the concussion protocol. I'm serious. These people who run it now are crazy. But I think that's why you have athletes, because they seem like the sanest group of individuals right now. They seem like the individuals who are the brightest individuals you're dealing with right now, because these politicians, just think about it, leadership is not what it used to be.
No. And I feel like in terms of athletes, it's easy to look up to them. Like you see them all the time, like they're doing things that you feel as though you can't do, especially for people that come from our communities historically. They're certainly like they come from the hood or places where people feel like they can relate, so they really look up to and admire these people.
But my question is, where do we draw the line in free speech? Because I'll go back, when COVID, everybody had a right not to wear a mask. Mm-hmm. When it was going around full-fledged, everybody had a right to say this. Everybody has a right to do this. Everybody got a right to have this. But now, when you say something I don't agree with, you don't have a right to say it. So I'm not for or against. I'm saying there's a slippery slope there, because what happens when somebody comes out and says, so are you going to suspend everybody? So if somebody, for instance, the guy that I think it was the Magic of somebody that didn't agree with the whole Black Lives Matter thing. Mm-hmm. He refused.
Jonathan.
Yeah. He refused to kneel and all this stuff. So what do you suspend him?
Yeah. I think what's kind of interesting here is like it's almost you can't be wrong. You can't stand for anything, or you can't be wrong. Like it's like you said, freedom of speech is almost tough to have your own opinion or view on things and have an opportunity to learn from those things without being canceled.
But who determines? But see, my thing is again, and I'm not, me, I'm not. But who determines wrong? See, my whole issue is the whole slippery slope. The whole. But see, it's not the people. The whole slippery slope thing around it is because, the people to me is if you went and you told me that it was a collective group of people came together and said, hey, we had this discussion, we took it to a system, and this is what we came to. It's not the people. It's Adam Silver, the NBA. He's the person. And whether he got pressure from other people or not, because he didn't do it right away.
Nets owner, all of them.
He didn't do it right away.
Well, the Nets owner, they dropped them, so it's been a number of different.
But after this was all after. This was after people started making a fuss. If I'm the owner of the Nets and you're my employee, I can act right away. I can go to Adam Silver the first day and say, hey, we don't like this. What can we do? What can we do about it? Not wait till it's a public outcry and everybody's running around. Now all of a sudden I want to issue a statement and now I'm appalled by what he say. But as long as he's putting up those triple doubles and we win, and so I think that's my whole point around where it becomes a slippery slope.
The other side of the coin to this too is like the platform that's streaming this.
Yeah,
like, nobody talks about that. Like that, this was produced and streamed by someone where other people can watch this.
Like they're talking like Kyrie.
He produced the movie.
Directed
it, and did it. Like
executive producer.
But see, the funny thing about it,
and the same guy that said the Earth is flat, by the way.
But
now we like, oh my gosh, I can't believe.
See, but that's my point. See, and I said that to you earlier. It's the same dude who said the Earth is flat, and everybody laughed. So now he made this statement. Now he's speaking about. And the thing about it is, he made an excellent point. You got him on him for tweeting it, but you don't get on Amazon. Who for showing this thing? Yeah. You can order this thing on Amazon.
They're making more money off it as we speak.
But so, because now everybody
want to see what they're talking about.
So that's my whole point about how and this kind of ties into your question. That's how they become such important people because we make them important people.
Yeah.
Like if people had not been talking about this, I don't think he would have got suspended. If it wasn't an uproar where people would have started really making, I don't think Adam Silver ever gets involved.
That's actually interesting too. Like, do you think that, like, if it wasn't like this big uproar, do you think like people would have been like, oh man, Kyrie posted something interesting today. Let me go check this out.
They'd have been like that. They would have been like us when he said the Earth is flat. We laughed. Everybody would have said, "Well, this, it's just, and I got to keep using the references. It's like when I listen to Herschel Walker, I just laugh. I don't see.
The United States is the greatest country in the United States.
Yeah, but that's my point. But that's my point. See, but somebody like that is he's running for office. Yeah. That speaks to why, to answer your question about how people kind of assimilate to that role, is because we got people like him, man. I mean, and he just you watch him like they played this other speech he was doing, and he must have said this about 15 times. Finally, the guy was making fun of him. You know how they do the parodies. Yeah. The guy was like, "Is this actually a part of the American?" I mean, in the English dictionary. But this guy's running for office. So this takes to the point about how we don't have effective leadership.
No.
But my point is, so to me, he's not credible. But people voted for him. And I go back to Kyrie. Kyrie, he's not credible. So, that whole thing with Kyrie, man, is like, he's wrong. I know somebody's going to say, I'm not supporting him. What I'm saying is it's a slippery slope. Yeah. And what happens, and so what do you decide when somebody's saying, like, I go back to the Colin Kaepernick thing. Nobody got on Jerry Jones when Jerry Jones said, if anybody on my team kneeled, I'm cutting them. Yo, that's like work. That's hostile workplace. You telling somebody, so if you use your rights. So again, it's like, okay, it's free speech until you say something I don't agree with, and that's where it's a slippery slope. That's where it becomes a slippery slope, because at what point do you turn around and say, okay, this is allowed, this is not allowed?
I think I asked or said this before the camera came on too, but like now it is that line of like you work for a company, what I mean?
You're a brand. You're a brand, and the company is a brand.
So it's like, where's the line in terms of like, all right, I need to be in line with company policy, and also, I mean, I'm an individual, I'm a man, I'm a person, I'm a human being.
But I'll tell you what the differences are. And as you can tell, I've been thinking about
this. It's honestly, I think that's very prevalent today.
But it's funny because when you work for a company, like we all work for a company, we're part of the brand within and around. But the NBA is different because the NBA calls them ambassadors. They want them to go out there and do stuff. They want them to go out and be in the public. Now they just, they want them to go to schools, and they encourage them to go out and give speeches and do all this community stuff. When you do that, you risk somebody saying something that you don't agree with, because they're not vetting them. They're not saying this is what you can say, what you can't say. They're not doing that. They're saying, be out there, put the NBA on display. We want to be global.
Make them take courses.
Yeah, they want to be global. They don't. It's just like, and some of these sportscasters, I say all the time, I swear these sportscasters don't actually watch the games. They just watch the highlights, because I listen to some of the stuff they say. It's like, you must just watch the highlights of the game. Yeah. So, but it's the same thing. So how can you properly, give information about something when you didn't watch it in totality? You just saw the highlights. And that's why some of these sportscasters, man, they should be fired.
And that's the sign of the times. It's not just sports. Everybody does that.
But you have them on this pedestal where, and I want to make this, I got to keep saying, I don't agree with them, but I'm saying, where do we find, where do we get to that line? Like right now, and I'll say, you got people talking about they want to do away with gay marriage. They want to get rid of gay marriage, and that's the big fight. And then somebody asks the question, so what happens next week if somebody comes along and says whites and blacks can't get married anymore? Where do you begin? So you got to be careful when you start doing stuff, man. You have to look at the long-term effect. Like even I'm pro-life all the way, but in pro-life, there's people who got to have that same procedure because the baby has died inside them and they're going to die.
Right. It's medical reason.
Yeah. So they just did a whole blanket thing and says you can't have it in some states. So those people got to die. Who the babies are, or can you imagine being a mom and you got to carry a dead, fetus inside you? Sure. So I'm saying we got to be careful when we start blanketing stuff. We got to be careful when we start saying, this, because we set precedent. And once you set precedent, people take it and roll with it.
Yeah, true. I mean, but this kind of next topic.
Let's do it to the next topic.
It related to this. It's like, because even with this whirlwind of events that has been going on between, Kyrie, we throw Ye in the mix of this too. Like, I think one thing is evident that we tend to turn on each other pretty quickly. And it's okay, like, when we give each other some scorn, but it's like vicious.
Especially when money's involved.
Yeah, it's never a way. And, like, again, we probably talked about this before the cameras came on, but, like, it's never in a way where it's a teachable moment, Like, I feel like back in the day, people used to talk, right? And, like, teach you. No, it was never really chastising or, like, putting you down, belittling you. But, like, in lieu of all the things that are going on, like, I think I don't know. You see people attacking these guys. I don't know if it's for or due to the money or because these people are public figures.
Well, I think for some, and it's funny because you said this before the thing, and shout out to Ricky Ford, who's on there, Derek Ford. Who's an old head. You talked about, older than me. He was a part of a basketball league that I played in, and they will pull you aside and set the record straight. They didn't embarrass you.
Right, you're not going to embarrass me.
And you talking about that, yeah. But I think that's what you see now because I get followers when I embarrass people. I get ratings when I embarrass people. I can get endorsements on, and that's my whole thing about how many people pull Kyrie aside. All these older NBA players who talk all this stuff, pull them aside and say, hey, what's going on?
Right.
Why did you say that? Let me walk you through this process. Now, whether he listens or not, let me walk you. This is how you should handle it. Mm-hmm. That should have happened long before that press conference. Somebody should have pulled him and said, yo, you just made a mistake, man.
It's like, did you hear what Shaq was saying about the whole situation?
No, what did he say?
It's funny, he was calling Kyrie, not to go back to it, but he was calling Kyrie an idiot and all these different things. His movie theater actually showed.
Yeah, but that's my somebody said that, but that's my point. But that's my point because he gets on TV and says that, and because he's an authority. And people don't know that, they jump on the bandwagon.
Right.
They jump on the bandwagon. And why he's saying that he's making money off the movie. Mm-hmm. So, but that's my point when I think, to your point, we just so quick to jump because we get personal gain. We get personal. Like, it's funny because, TNT, Ernie was the only one that made any sense when he talked about the whole, he didn't jump on, he didn't slam him like, hey, we just don't promote that. That's what's wrong with the world today. And I'm paraphrasing what he was saying. We got to do a better job. And if you got a problem with one group of people, you really can't promote racism in general, whether you rap, black, whatever it is. But and most people jump on, like Charles Barkley's on CNN now. Mm-hmm. His face all over the place now.
I really feel like this is my personal thoughts here. I feel like they be putting black people at the front of every fight. Yeah. It's like whatever is going on, like, yo, let's get a black face to put in there and like make them talk and do whatever to prove or move these points. And I almost kind of just even historically speaking, just thinking about like slavery, how they had some black people in place to whip
the field Negro and the house Negro. Yeah.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is right now. It's like this. We got black people that are just kind of trying to keep other black people in check.
Well, I think because you get followers. It's like the guy Jason Whitlock, who I think he just says stuff. Says stuff, and he typically targets black people because he'll get a job and he will make a lot of money. Because as long as he does it, it was funny because I'm the sports thing. I was watching the thing today, and a young black guy got up and walked off the set because they were talking about the Eagles and the 49ers. So he was saying how it's foolishness. Everybody talking about the Eagles can't win because of run. He said, they beat the Texans and they should have beat Washington. if it wasn't for the turnovers.
controversy.
So and every team has flaws.
Mhm.
So the Caucasian guy says, yeah, but people think the 49ers are better because the quarterback situation. So the guy looked at him.
Jimmy
said,
Garoppolo
yes.
is not
And the
better
guy said,
than
he said, did
Jalen
you just say that? Yeah.
Well, former New England Patriots Super Bowl winning quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. I will stand with you, my brother.
He ain't win no Super Bowl.
No,
He
he's not
was
better.
on the bench. He was on the bench. He
Sitting
got a
there.
ring for sitting on the bench.
He played 2 games that year.
So there's the water boy.
But it's just funny how, and he just got up because of the same thing in the NFL. And somebody else was talking about the same thing, how you don't pay Lamar Jackson, you don't pay Jalen Hurts, but you pay these. Carson Wentz got paid for doing nothing. For doing, and he about to be a backup.
Yeah.
He can't even beat out Hanky. So I'm just, you go around the league, these guys, these Caucasian dudes are getting paid, man, on promise. But you got guys like Jalen Hurts, Lamar, who are producing and winning.
Yeah. Yeah, and they still try to
Yeah,
pepper in these questions.
I'm not a Cowboy
their...
fan, so I can't believe I'm going to say this. But the same thing what Dak had to go through to get his money.
Yeah. I mean, but
so I think this goes back to what you're saying, because then you got people like Jason Whitlock on TV, who was an idiot, who bashing him. Tom Brady having the worst year of his career. Nobody's saying a word. Aaron Rodgers sucks this year. Nobody's saying a word.
Like that's
not
the
talking
thing.
about
Nobody's saying a
Favre.
word. But that's when you say we pile on each other.
Why are we not piling on that?
I can't believe I'm going to say this because I'm going to Boston too, but that's what Jalen Brown of Boston said. He said, I don't understand. He said, they're all jumping on him. Well, Brett Favre defrauded welfare money.
He is taking resources away from people.
And no black person.
Kyrie reposted
Malik Andrews, what's the chick name?
Jamel Hill, she went in on Kyrie.
But the one who just got finished going after
Malika?
Yeah, whatever her name is, she's not mentioning it, and I'm just saying. So,
they should be talking about Brett Favre every day.
But they're not going to get paid off of that. They get paid when we turn on each other. That's when we get ratings, and people like it. That's why Hershey Walker is doing so well, because it goes back to the day where they put the black puppet up there, and see who's up there. Anybody can beat us. So that's why he's doing so well. But I mean, come on, the guy can't even train. His own college won't even get him. His old coach was like, yo, this ain't for real. So I'm just saying, but they like it, and we do the same thing. We turn on each other instead of like back in the day, they will pull you. Don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. This is how you do that. Yeah. Now, it's just we turn on each other because it gets us ratings. Yeah. We get famous. And we can be loud and obnoxious towards each other, and we get paid for it.
That's the part that is just like almost mind blowing, and I guess the thought that I had it's going to be hard for people to take you serious or respect you. You know what I mean? If we don't even respect ourselves enough to fight for each other.
But it goes on, and I go back. I remember
we fight for everybody else but each other.
But it goes back when the young man, I can't think his name, got killed for the what's his name? I can't think his name. The hoodie, he had a hoodie on. Right? What? Yeah. When he got killed, George Zimmerman. When George Zimmerman killed him, I remember the argument I had with people because he shouldn't have had a hoodie on. Trayvon Martin. He had a hoodie on, and this is black people. Well, wait a minute. Hoodies was the number one paraphernalia across college campuses across America. They sold more hoodies on college than anywhere else. How many people walked around with hoodies on? And there were black people. Well, he had a hoodie on and was not. He had his hands in his pocket. So my point making is there were black people who were validating what happened to him. And once you get one or two people, black people validating it, that's what the other side of America jumps on.
Yeah.
So I got a quick question, because this is like mainly on TV and everything like that. What's it going to take for one of us to be like, listen, I'm not doing this segment? Because, a lot of these segments are created in the morning, different things like that before the show.
In the room,
what's it going to take for someone to be like, you know what, this is disrespectful towards this person? Because I don't like talking about down on black people live or on TV or anything like that. So, what's it going to take?
And I'm not saying it because we're in this King movement together, but Chris Broussard, and he talked about it when he was on our show. Remember he said when Justin asked him the question about how do you decide what to do and what not to do, and he gave us, it's not simple, but it was simplicity in his answer. He said, right from wrong.
Yeah.
You know what you believe. You got to have the power to stand by what you believe. There's certain things that Chris Broussard just won't do. I don't agree with everything he says about sports, but he doesn't tear people down. He doesn't go on people personally. He doesn't make it, and he judges everybody. He ain't sitting there just talking about the black athletes. So I think that's the one. First. You got to have a standard, and I think right now, if your standard is making money, they know it.
That's really the problem. I think it's like money precedes everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but one thing about what did I've always told you? If as long as you chase God, money will chase you.
And I didn't even mean that for me personally.
No, but I'm saying that to everybody. If everybody, and I'm not saying
it's a sign of the times. Like,
it is a sign of the times.
Chasing it.
I had a discussion with a young man today in the class today, and this was like one of the longest hours I had in the class today because he keeps, the assignment I gave him to do today. Well, I said, write down 10 pieces of advice you would give to old you. So if you could go back and give him 10 pieces of advice, so he writes down, don't get caught.
What are we talking about?
So, but this goes into what we're talking about because he sees all this stuff on TV, so he thinks there's really such things as perfect crimes.
Yeah, I mean, he's watching too many movies.
But he thinks it's.
I watch true crime myself. They always get
he thinks there's perfect crimes.
So
and I'm trying to explain to him, and in my mind, I'm thinking this is part of what the society we live in because they start talking about power and all this stuff. It's not real. It's a TV show. It was written in the script that he did, Tom. Yeah, but the point I'm making is when you don't have other people who want to stand up for what they want to do, you follow what looks good. That becomes you follow what you perceive as the norm. And right now the norm is the craziness you see because and I know there's other and again I don't want to sound like I'm beholden, but LaShawn McCoy, I listen to him. He's a
funny guy.
He's funny guy. Well, he keeps it straight.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He keeps it straight. Yeah, he is funny. He keeps it straight. So there's people out there who, at least so far, show integrity. I think the problem with it is we don't prop those people up.
But then he hit pool, so.
We don't prop those people up. We don't. And that's the problem. We don't celebrate those guys. We celebrate the people doing the crazy stuff. We get excited about people doing the crazy stuff. I have nothing against Stephen A. Smith, but to me, he epitomizes the angry black man because he's always shouting and screaming at somebody, and and that's his niche. But that's the biggest stereotype about us in the first place, that we can't have a conversation without fighting, without screaming. But he's making $40 million off of it. Why? Because he fits that mold and people like seeing it. People like seeing an angry black guy.
So again, I guess to Devin's point is like, how do we change that? And you mentioned or said it too, is like we got to celebrate other people that are doing the right things. But do you even think or feel like there's enough of them out there?
I do. I think, and that's not the
in the light that they need to be. I think
that's the premise of the show.
Yeah,
that's the premise of the show because we felt like there wasn't enough hoopla over people, average black men who were doing good things. Mm-hmm. Who are out there like Ricky Ford. I got to get him on the show, man. Rick, and he doesn't mind. I say this. He went through the whole recovery process, and now he's doing his thing. He's helping people, man. He does little things in politics. Why I played in the basketball league. That he was part of the basketball league. Helped ran a league that gave us a place to play.
Yeah, we do want to get some other business owners on here, entrepreneurs.
But we got to begin to stick together. We have to stop. We got to stop tearing people down. We got to stop saying because I go back to the whole thing with Obama, and I got people watching this, and I could care less who I got into discussions with because Obama didn't do enough for black people. So my question was, who's your local senator? Who's your local? They don't even know. They don't even know. But he didn't do enough. But when there's black people in office who've done nothing for decades, and we don't hold them accountable.
That's in your neighborhood, in your district.
So that's the problem. How many people we did the thing we talked about voting. How many black people don't vote in the primary? Because it's not important. They don't even know the electoral system. So that allows those people to get in there who shouldn't be in there. And then we talk about them all the time. So when you talk about somebody good or bad, you're putting their name out there. You're helping them establish a brand, but you're not talking about the people who are doing the right things. You're not talking about the person who does a coat drive or feeds people, or the father that goes to church and does things. We don't talk about him. Now we're talking about the father that go out here and rub and kill somebody, but the dude who making ends meet and doing things he has to do, man, we don't talk about that guy.
That's actually a really good point too. It's just like it's so easy nowadays. Everybody loves to promote the negativity.
It sells.
And then just even from kind of our athletes down to just the regular everyday man. Like you never hear anybody say anything like,
no,
like that black man is amazing. That black man is awesome. Like,
but
he's doing great things.
Let's go back.
Oh, I respect that black man. I would listen to,
when Kobe died, who was the first person to say something negative? A black person.
And
a black person again, was looking for the dirt. A black person.
Again, that to the point of what we've been saying this entire time is just like we the first ones to come there and like, all right, here it is. Like he did this. Malika Andrews did the same thing too with the new coach for the Celtics right now.
That's his name, right?
Like he had some type of trouble
in
or
college.
something, but was found not guilty.
Incidents in college. Yeah, he had to do restitution and found not guilty. Matter of fact, they weren't even not guilty; they were thrown out. So they never really went to trial.
Right. Yeah. But like again, just want to be quick to throw some shade or some dirt this way. Like why?
Because because in my humble opinion, because people who don't look like us applaud that. They applaud that. And she will always have a job because that's what she does. She's not qualified. Some of the arguments when they talk about sports, she clueless some of the stuff they talk about. I'm like, how did you, and you hate to say it, but people talk about it. She's not really qualified. If you look at her resume to get that job, but she keeps the job because she continuously, when it's time, tears down African-American athletes. And you know what? Hey,
there's money in that.
Yeah.
People who run the station,
it's getting the views. Hey,
everybody don't like a bunch of African Americans running around making $40 million a year. Everybody not on board with that. And we can talk about 1965 or 2022. Race is still an issue, and we feed it. Even if you go back to, there were people during the civil rights moment who thought Martin Luther King was crazy. Why are you doing that? Why are you making things worse for us? Not that things could get better. Yeah. So that's been a part of our culture for a long time.
Like, was that, you think, like when Muhammad Ali was, again, I brought up that example before, did he have some of the same issues with people that look like us?
Of course he did. But you know what I said, though?
Was it a lot more prevalent? I feel like it's way more prevalent today than it was.
Well, now I'm going to steal your line. It's more prevalent today because of social media. Because now you know what everybody's thinking. Now you know what everybody says. But even if you go back to Muhammad Ali,
good point.
He's one of my, and I'm a Christian, so people get upset when I say this, but him and Malcolm X are two of my favorite characters. And what people fail to realize is they were, and Martin Luther King's in the same category, they were willing to die for what they believe. Whether we agree or disagree, they're willing to die for what they believe. They didn't do it because they were trying to get ratings. They didn't do it because they were trying to be popular. They did it because they really believed in it. And what people don't understand, Muhammad Ali gave up the prime of his career. Yo, you think he was badly served? He was in the prime of his career when all that got stripped from him. So that's the part you got. But people just look at it because of what he said, and what he said was true. He was in a country where he was discriminated against, that he had no rights. But you wanted him to go over there and kill people to come back home to be discriminated against. And so Jackie Robinson did the same thing. When Jackie Robinson came back, he said the same thing. I'm over there fighting this war. I come over here, I can't even fill the lunch counter. Bill Russell stood up for it in basketball. Bill Russell, they would go to hotels, and if the blacks couldn't stay, he would leave. And the Celtics would leave. Because it was places where this guy's playing for the world champion Boston Celtics, and he got to use the back door to get in.
So that actually kind of made me think of something.
But see, we don't know our history, so we do stupid stuff like that.
Another point here, though, because I did bring up the fact of some of our older athletes that kind of were activists. They still had to go through like some horrific things, just being a black man outside of the lines of whatever sports activities they're doing. I think it's certainly different today for athletes because you getting paid millions of dollars. They probably look at it as like, you don't have those type of issues anymore.
Got those problems no more.
Right. Just enjoy this.
But you know who says that? Very poor people or very rich people say that. People in between realize money don't really fix anything.
It don't.
But I also think times have a lot to do with it because people are different. And I go back to Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley tells this story when and you probably couldn't do that now because you probably get into a fight. He tells this story where he wasn't playing for the Sixers. And he goes to Moses Malone, say, Moses, why am I not playing? I'm as good as anybody on the team. He said, because you fat and you lazy. People can't take that kind of criticism now, man. These stars now, you can. I mean, they fighting on Twitter. You can't even say something between Twitter and Instagram. So I think that's another reason why we don't have the leaders we should have, because you have
too many voices,
and whoever can talk the loudest, whoever's the most charismatic, that's who takes center stage. Yeah. And it goes back to what we were talking about. They are crabs in the barrel. Instead of them celebrating each other, saying, "Hey, whether I like KD or not, he's a phenomenal basketball player.
Right.
I think he probably leaves a lot of desire to person, decision make, but he can play the game."
Mm-hmm.
So why do people attack that?
And then even outside, like this, I think we see people in this one scope of their life. Like even you look at KD, he's a great basketball player. Mm-hmm. I can say outside of that, I don't know what type of man he really is.
Yeah. But
you know what I mean?
You don't act like you stand for much.
Same thing with Kyrie Irvin. Like, I really don't know what type of man he is outside of these little glimpses of things that get posted online.
He gave some pretty good glimpses, though.
Yeah, I know. but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know these people individually where I can sit down and question him and really see, like, they just are spewing these things and you just kind of have to live and
but we live in a society where people think they know them, because it's like when people talk about the teams they play for, they say we. We live in a society where, because of social media and because of Instagram, because of all the different things that's out there, people feel they have this connection that they really don't have. Mm-hmm. And people meet online and get married. Oh, we got a connection. You're 10,000 miles away. So that has produced this false sense of connection, which I think leads to why we connect ourselves to leaders that make no sense.
Right.
Like, for instance, I don't understand how, if you're not from this country and you got a politician that's talking about they want to get rid of everybody that's not from this country, you vote for that person. I don't understand. But you see these people
I'm already
on TV,
here, bro.
Yeah, but you see these people on TV all the time. Or when you hear politicians
trying to keep my cousin home.
I'm against this, but you made millions of dollars if everybody knows. Trump filed bankruptcy more than so many people, but he's this great businessman. I mean, I can go down a line of decisions that people make based on what they like to hear. And I think that's what happens. And if you go back to leadership, you go back to even the thing with Kyrie, it goes back because we're constantly fighting and not teaching each other. We're not trying to learn from each other. We're not saying, hey, let me pull you aside and show you how to do this. Hey, don't do that, young boy. I don't think you have those mentoring situations where you had older guys in the NBA pulling people aside saying, hey, let me show you how to be a professional. Hey, let me show you, how to do this. You just don't get that anymore because I'm making money. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, it is definitely like a kind of I would say, a butting of heads between like older generations and younger generations.
Well, but it's a perfect plan because as long as you fight against each other, you don't fight for what's important, man. That's the crab, the crabs in the brow is what they said back. My parents used to say, because you ever seen crabs in the brow? Yeah, when one trying to climb out, they pull them back in. So, but as long as we do that, that's why we can't accomplish it. We spend more money than any other ethnic group of people.
Man, I saw that the other day.
But we can't come together and say, okay, why can't we have our own politician?
Put our money in places that we know benefit us.
We can't have our own political party, police force. I see a bunch of that.
Well, you say that we ain't gonna have a police force, but you say political party, but you say this all the time. No, but think about it though. There's no reason why, if we could have a Black Wall Street decades ago, when there wasn't as many affluent African Americans, or
the resources to connect like there are now.
There's no reason why you couldn't. But again, as long as you fighting each other, you're never going to have
over stupid stuff. Yeah.
And that's part of the plan. If I keep you fighting against each other, you will never unite.
Right. And then again, like I said in the beginning of this, is not we fighting other people's fights. We're not even fighting for things.
But they know that they
benefit ourselves.
They know that because
hard on everybody else's.
They know that because they throw it out there. They throw it out there because people who are smart and they're intelligent. They pay attention and they watch. And I know, okay, well, Devin and Chris are kind of moving up the ladder here. So how can I slow them down? I got to pit them against each other. Because I pit them against each other, that slows them down and it gives me the opportunity to go around them and go past them. That's still logic today.
Or they're going to throw money our way and tell us like, hey.
And we go back in Genesis, the Tower of Babel, and the Bible. They were speaking one language, so they thought they were equal to God. We gonna build this tower. We gonna get to God. So what did God say? I'm gonna fix all that. I'm gonna give them all speak different languages so they can't work together. So they speak different languages, they can't communicate, so they can't get anything done.
I mean,
fast forward, what's different today? People throw stuff in the monkey wrench so we can't communicate.
Language, we still can't.
No, but we don't speak the same language to a certain extent because I agree with you. But if I'm trying to get rich, all I care about dollar signs, I ain't got a problem stepping on you. I don't have a problem stepping on you.
Yeah.
You know, if I, and Wayne put on the thing, if I don't believe in anything, I don't have any morals. I don't have any standards. I don't care. And I think that's part of the problem, how we got to where we are now, man. We have too many people who look out for themselves. Nah, man, they believe in themselves.
But those are the people that, like you said, get all the clout and get propped up. Are the people that,
you know why?
They have no morals.
Because
the money
if you step on somebody enough, you take their hope away. If you take somebody's hope away, they no longer participate. And if I take your hope away, now you start to live day by day. You don't participate. You're not voting. When we talked about the show, 80 million people didn't vote. 80 million people puts any candidate over the top. When we talk how many people did not vote, why? Because hopelessness. You take them out the system, man, and that still works.
Well,
it still works today.
We got to be more actively involved prior to that.
No, I agree, but I'm saying that's just an example of how what happens when you remove people from the system. That's how you get power.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a really good point. Like people just getting far and far removed, just allowing for sitting back, looking at things take place. And then, like I said, we step in just to kind of push each other further back.
Because I keep you fighting. If people it's just like racism. There are people out there, there's white people out there who dirt poor, no benefits, no nothing. And they fight and they fighting against black people. And you know why that works? Because as long as they fighting against each other and they not fighting against the system continues to get rich.
Yeah, and I think that's
and they continue to flourish, and nobody understands. We just fight.
A testament to what Martin Luther King said. Not the "I have a dream" part, where everybody's playing together. It was the economic side of it.
Yeah,
but
they know that.
Like just how far behind economically the rest of us are, white, black, whatever. You know what I mean?
I tell you, the white guy, or the Hispanic guy, the Chinese guy, the black guy, or a different group I'm talking to, that's who holding you back. And people believe the nonsense. Man, how am I holding you back? I got no clout in this country. Yeah, I'm in the same boat you in. But again, if everybody will come together and say, okay, we're going to get a candidate that truly represents the people, not themselves, that we want to, that want to
garbage group,
that want to fix all the schools and fix the education system across the country. Who will we truly have a level playing field? Who's truly going to look out for the poor? Who's truly going to reach out to the disfranchised? We could control it, but it's not going to happen because they keep you fighting. And that's the one thing the Republican Party is very good at. They keep everybody fighting. So, and it showed up now when people finally came together to say, okay, enough of this nonsense. We're voting in most places. Mm-hmm. But before this, everybody was so busy fighting. Trump was gaining momentum because everybody fighting each other. And his people were voting and doing the stuff they needed to do. Yeah. And we out there fighting over, he throw the grenade out and we fighting. Right. Or as somebody said, one of my mentors say this to me all the time. The problem with African-American and black people is you put a cake on the table and you cut off a slice and move it over. They'll fight for that slice of cake instead of trying to figure out how to get the whole cake.
Get that whole cake.
They're fighting the slice of that one piece of cake instead of saying, how do we get to that table to get the whole cake? Then we all can get a slice instead of slicing up this one cake. But that's what we do. And it's so true. It is so true. And whether it's the Kyire Irvin thing when everybody came down on him and they didn't get together to go to him, or
crazy.
But they didn't. I mean, there's so many instances where I think people could come together and possibly get a better result. Mm-hmm. That we struggle because people don't. Because I'm fighting. I'm so busy fighting against you, and I hate to keep getting him credit or mentioning his name, just in with he's terrible. But he has his job because he's good at ridiculing black people. He's very good at it. He is very good at it. He's a black face who constantly ridicules black people, and they like that.
Yeah, like I said, it's a way to try to keep people in line. It's like
but it works.
Taking it back to slavery days where it was that black person that was almost like the middleman to kind of be that voice or line for the rest of the black people.
Let's go full circle. And I'll say this. What was the whole, and I don't know, and you don't know the answer to this, but all Kyire Irvin did by posting that, whether he was just continue the conversation about splitting people up. That's all he did.
True.
He gained nothing personally from that. He has no stock in the movie. All he did by that was just throw a hand grenade out there and get this all flushed over again. And that's what we don't understand. Mm-hmm. We don't.
Wait, explain that though. Like how so?
Because if he had not put that tweet out there, nobody would be talking about the movie. Nobody would be talking about the movie. This whole now everybody's against Jews would be popping back up against and Asian hate, all that stuff. Every time you do something like that, and it's just on the other side of the fence, when you start beating up Black Lives Matters, you started, and it's not a conversation. You stir the pot up again is what you do. Because you get
he never really said anything.
I think the part that
he endorsed the movie. He did say something.
Yeah, it doesn't. In no way was this going to benefit our community.
That's my point.
That's the point. It's like in no way was that going to, especially in the position you in. You got so much money. You supposedly this smart. Like do something else.
Contrary. But it's so funny because contrary, you don't hear everybody talking about LeBron James in the school. Or
Jalen Rose.
I was going to say that. Jalen Rose was talking about that one time. He said they act like LeBron James is the only one that's doing stuff in the African American community. All these athletes are. So you don't hear about that.
No.
Why? Because we don't promote it either. We don't promote it.
And like you said, we sit here and we kind of hone in and talk about all the negative things that are taking place.
I can't think of this dude's name, man. The video I saw the other day where he was coming at LeBron James, calling him a house Negro.
Oh man! I mean, but again,
and that's my point. And I'm gonna tell you how I don't even know who dude was. So that was just 15 minutes of fame. He was some ex-NBA player. So that's just 15 minutes.
But
of
it's
fame.
like as soon as somebody they can do all these great things, you know what I mean. But it's like that one chink in the armor. We just ready to go at it. Like we ready to tear that man down. They the worst individual ever. Like,
but I do a workshop and with kids and I say, what do you want to fight for?
There ain't nobody perfect out here. That's it.
And that's the problem. We fight for the wrong things. We should be fighting for better schools. We should be fighting for the better education system. We should be fighting to have better people representing us in local politics and in national politics. We should be fighting to live in safe communities. We should be fighting. You need to start.
Education is number one. That should be number one because if you can't critically think, then it's pretty much over for you. You see a lot of what we see right now.
But that is the basic form, and let's go back to slavery. That's the same reason why they don't mind education because they didn't want slaves to get educated because once you get educated, you can think for yourself. You can develop things. You can develop skills. You understand that when somebody's giving you bull crap. And it's no different now. The basic formula is if I keep somebody uneducated, I keep them poor. If I keep you uneducated and I keep you poor, you will never go any further in life and I'll allow you to go. That is the basic formula.
Yeah.
And that's the formula of the United States of America. They're not pushing it. You can't tell me, for instance, and I'm not against Ukraine, so somebody gonna say I'm against Ukraine. They send this money to Ukraine, but they don't send $1,000 to these schools in the city. Right. We got a war zone right here in these homes. They shooting each other.
Apart. Like,
they talk about defund the police, and we got people can't even come home. Right over here in West Oakland, 3 weeks ago, it was 2 girls that somebody tried to snatch for this human traffic off the street in broad daylight on their way to school. But so I'm not against Ukraine, but we send them billions of dollars over there. But you're not doing anything to fix the inner cities. That's my point. And it's not, and you can.
Yeah.
You can put extra police or dump money in police department. Pay them more. Pay your teachers more. Stop paying your teachers this minuscule salaries and then send them into war zones and tell them, you do your thing.
Revamp the education system.
Let's go back to Philadelphia. The ventilation systems they came up with last year. I love talking about that, man. They do it to Home Depot, got a piece of plywood and a fan and stuck it in some wood and that's how you value your teachers? And that's how you want to suck the COVID out the building? And who came up with that? That was a science project that somebody did in the 4th grade. Well, I remember this. You continuously show people we don't value education.
Right.
We hear you. We don't value. Yeah. Like who ran the platform? What was the last politician that ran the platform that we're going to fix the education system? Nobody.
Like.
Who ran on poverty?
About that
who ran on poverty? We're gonna balance the playing field. We're gonna put money into some of these social programs to feed the homeless and educate people. Jobs, training programs. We're gonna make it easier for people to go to community college. To learn skills. No, nobody ran on that.
Made earlier, like we just divided on so many things now.
Crabs in a barrel.
Right. It's easy for them to just run on a number of different things that really aren't relevant to us anymore. But because we've been riding on these things for so long, now that's at the forefront of what we think is important versus our own.
But that's because we've allowed people to distract us. And And, is another thing. I do this workshop on, you got to drown out the noise. The noise being all that stuff that distracts you. And they easily distract us with things. And we get so busy on distractions about the things that matter. Yeah. Like, for instance, you can't tell me why somebody would not have to wait to get a gun. Anybody that needs to buy a gun right away, that's a problem. That should be a red flag. You got to get it.
License yesterday.
And I know I got to get a gun. Yo, that should be a problem. You know why? Because they're making millions of dollars, and it's not in their neighborhoods. It's not in their neighborhoods. I always said this, a simple fix. That's why I could never be president. If you're a judge and you continue letting people out, they gonna live in your neighborhood for 60 days. You keep letting dude out over and over again. He gonna be your neighbor for 60 days. Right next to you. Let me see how now. See if you keep letting them out. But the problem is, they come back to our community and they do the stuff and it keeps our whole community down. It decreases the value in our homes. It decreases the value in the educational system. And it is a cycle that goes on and on. And every time the cycle turns over again, another generation is being undereducated more. Which means they're being deeper in poverty. Yeah. And none of these things it's going to take time to dig out, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out if you don't put money in education, kids are not going to be smart. That's just the bottom line. Right. You pass the kid because he shows up in school every day. Yeah. I was talking to a kid.
But then again, to the point, you can easily be swayed.
I was talking to a kid today in my class, and he had the nerve to tell me that you don't, because I was saying, we got to write the plan down, because the project was they have to develop a podcast. You develop a podcast, and the winning team, everybody gets $25 gift card. So first of all, one team couldn't put their phones down, so I knew they weren't, So I'm every time put your phone down. So he says, well, we would have won because we better verbally. So I said, well, but you don't have a plan. I got a plan, is up here. So I said, well, you got to write. Oh, we don't have to write because we don't write in school. We on our Chromebook.
We don't write in school.
So I said, let me ask you a question though. I said, what happens when you got to sign? You got to sign something. Well, I don't have to sign anything. You still got to write it even when you do your finger. I said, that's not true. When you go get a passport, when you apply for a job, they not giving you no Chromebook. He said, no. So then the other boy said, that's right, man. He said, I had a summer job and I had to sign for my check, and they gave me grief because I couldn't write my name. Because they asked me to write in cursive and I could only print. But they're teaching these kids, man, that you don't, but they're teaching these kids that you don't have to write, and that's not true.
That's crazy to me.
But but people fall for that. We fall for that. We fall for that nonsense. And this kid I don't have to write anything. Dude, were you born the rest of your life that you don't have to write anything?
Other side of that, like, somebody need to be teaching this young man. Like,
that's why I'm there. But you know how frustrated they get when you argue with some kid who, and I hate to say it, he was like, man, well, where you see me at 5 years from now? In the back of my mind, I'm saying prison. Because you keep talking about not getting caught. You keep talking about not doing it. But his mentality, because, and I'm not saying every school, but that's what he's learning in school, to take shortcuts. So he thinks life is about taking shortcuts. And nobody's saying, nobody's coming there saying, no, life is not about shortcuts. Life is not about finding a quick way. And I was shocked when they told me, because I got to give them pens. I was shocked when they said, well, we don't write in school.
Then what are they?
And then they do the Chromebook. And then they do
everything is pretty much technological now.
I work at a tech company. I still write.
That's not, you have to write. You can't, and how do you? So, but if you don't teach them, how can? It's not fair. It's not fair for me to expect it. I'm not making excuses, but it's not fair for me to expect this young man or young lady who's never been taught that to come into corporate America and suddenly know it.
Oh, and when you vote, you have to sign.
You got to sign the book. Yeah, you know. You sign by your name and validation vote.
On someone, but
you sign. Yeah. You probably don't remember.
You last week.
Yes, you do. You
without a doubt.
You have to.
They didn't look at my ID.
But they don't look at your ID.
Don't say that.
But you have to sign. Remember, I used to be the judge over there. So they look your name up, and you probably don't remember, but you sign. You have to sign.
No way.
Because they can't count it. At the end of the day, when they have to audit the books, they have to have a signature by every
But nonetheless, even if you didn't sign, they have your signature on file. In most cases, you have to sign.
So there's so many things that you can't do if you can't without signing. That means you can never leave the country because you can't get a passport. I work for companies where you had, even to get direct deposit, to get the money so you can use your debit card.
I'm with you. I'm just saying. Yeah. There's electronic signatures where
You got to sign though.
I'm talking about you just got to type it in.
Not no legal documents.
No.
See, this is the why black.
I did it last week.
No, and that, but you know what the problem is?
It's called DocuSign.
But this is I have DocuSign, but this is the problem. Jobs who don't want to hire you don't have that. Only some jobs have that. I work for 2 companies where you had to sign your name. There wasn't you had to sign your name.
Small
and
company.
You know what that did? No, after school isn't no small company. But what it does is it eliminates a whole class of people they don't have to deal with. That's what it does. If I got a company and I say you got to sign your name and you can't write, it eliminates a whole group of people right away.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to sign. I have DocuSign and stuff, but you can't do everything with DocuSign.
I was just saying this.
I get it, but
and you have to sign.
Now they're gonna get rid of that. I can tell you.
I guarantee you still have to sign some document 10 years from now. I guarantee there's still gonna be some things that you have to sign because that's how they validate who you are.
Because even with Capital
One,
fingerprints,
even
some aspects of Capital One, everything's online.
That's just one company, but everybody's not.
That's the direction of every company.
But it doesn't matter the direction. It matters what you got to do to get a job to compete down. That's what matters. Everybody's not going to work for Capital One. And I tell these young people, it's not about what you think will happen 20 years from now, because you got to eat tomorrow. I'm talking to a high school senior today. He got to worry about this when he graduates. He can't sit and talk about in 10 years. Like, you got to know how to sign stuff. You got to know how to interview. You got to know how to talk. And you got to know how to you can't wear LeBron James to the interview. You got to show up dressed for the interview. You got a tie on, the tie's not on. It's down here. You interview and they dress like they going to the club. Our kids are purposely not being taught this because they can't compete. And this goes back to the crabs in the barrel, because there are people who look like us in charge of some of these schools who should be making sure this is happening. There's gatekeepers, brown gatekeepers, who should make sure these kids have some of these skills. A kid should not graduate high school, definitely should not graduate college, and they don't know how to interview. I interview somebody.
It's funny that you.
But they should. They do. But they should.
No, that's
but they should. But that's my point. But they should. HBCUs. A lot of HBCUs are taking it.
Though, like instead of us bringing each other down all the time, those are areas of focus that we can kind of really.
I interviewed this guy and I got to tell the story. He gets on the things, and I'm another guy. He signs on. Yo, what's up, OGs?
Because y'all old.
That's how I started. So I'm thinking to myself, like, what? But then I had to stop and I had to stop and think. You know what? He don't know anybody.
It's generational, yeah. But again, that's on us. We gotta. I think be better at, like I said earlier, building each other up, having the conversation, and not like. But tearing them down, like, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. You should know better.
But this goes back to not just that. The next step we gotta do, but we also gotta do something about it. We gotta share our knowledge, just like you do. Yeah, just like like you talk about things in your job.
I mean, a level of respect down. Like it's like it's funny that because growing up, it was different mentality. I like to think that I'm in this age where I can see things shift, but like it was do as you're told. That's it. Well, there wasn't too many questions, but I mean, because I had your parents. My mom's parents, like,
but I allowed y'all to ask questions.
Yeah, you did, but like in most cases, not most cases, but in some cases, it was like, you know what, like I'm not even gonna bother asking. I just that's what was told.
And I'm laughing because somebody said that my parenting class last night, that they say it because that's what their parents should tell them. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, that as well. But somebody said that in my class last night. Just say like, now it's not like that. It's not like that. Like you almost kind of really do have to have a dialogue, conversation, and respect.
Because why is, and I was talking, I was on the training and I brought this up. And one thing about this generation, whether you like it or not, and I actually like it, is this is a why generation. They need to know why they have to do stuff. Mm-hmm. They asked, when I was coming up, somebody gave something to do at work, you just did it. You may ask how, but you just did it. Mm-hmm. This generation has the why. They, why, how does this fit into the big scheme of things? How does this, they have to, and so we have to do a paradigm shift and be prepared to respond to those questions. So I agree with 200%. But this also goes back to the crab in the barrel, because crab in the barrel, I got it, you get it. That's the problem. I'm not going to take time to say why. I got it, you get it.
Yeah.
It's like when, I joke all the time when people in my parenting class, oh man, can't wait till my kid turn 18. What do you stop parenting at 18? No. And after 18 is when it gets hard, really gets hard. So the point I'm making is we do have this crab in the barrel thing where nobody's going to get higher than me. We have this crab in the barrel thing where, I got to make sure Chris and Devin don't pass me. Even if I'm lazy and don't want anything, I'm not going to let anybody get ahead of me. And you will experience when you get in leadership is some of the people that's going to give you the hardest time. People that look just like you.
Oh, what?
You say you already, right? And that's some of the hardest things, man. People who look just like you, and it's like a whole nother show. Or they love, and we talked about it sometimes, pitting black women against black men. That's the next thing that happens that people don't understand.
That might be a hot topic show if we do that.
But it's a reality though, where it's happening.
Taking a break next week.
So anyway. Oh man, this time just
time flies. It was a good conversation.
Well, welcome you guys back, man.
Yeah, we happy.
I gotta tell you, holding double on myself last week was interesting. We had a great show. We talked about reflection. We talked about the importance of reflection,
which I wish I could have been on because
we had a great show.
I really think that is something important and valuable for everyone. Is like you need to be able to self-reflect.
Honestly,
in some cases, honestly, because the next thing I was going to say is holding yourself accountable to flaws or areas in which you can be better.
Feedback's always important.
Yeah, it's always important. First, it starts with yourself. I know a lot we've been talking about providing feedback to your peers or your brothers or sisters, but like it definitely starts with yourself. Like,
you should have been here because it was funny because somebody put up on the screen. So therapy got introduced to it too because we were talking about the importance of self-reflection. But then we also somebody brought up about the importance of being able to go to therapy to help you deal with some of those things. So it was like, that's another, and it was a guy. We always talk about that. It was a guy who brought it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting way to tie it in. Like, therapy certainly helps you deal with some of those things. But
man, I need therapy.
Sometimes I think it's important just being left alone in your thoughts and really dealing with it head on. Right?
Yeah, but this goes back. But this goes back to the crab in the barrel. I think that's another thing that crab in the barrels produce is isolation. And there's times when you need to talk to somebody. There's times when you should be able to bounce stuff off people. There's times. See, we kind of spoil you because even as father and son, we have that. But we talk to each other. We have that. Yo, Chris, what do you think about this? Yo, Devin, what do you think about this? I don't say and say, well, that's my son, so I can't ask him this question. So we have, but everybody doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have it. Everybody's kid is not calling up and say, Dad, yo, what do you think about this? So I think that's another thing that you kind of, we take for granted, but out there's a bunch of people now who because of the crab in the barrel thing, don't have anybody to talk to. They're afraid to talk to somebody, because if I tell so-and-so, they're going to use it against me later. Yeah. I mean, I never thought I would say this as we close. I feel bad for Ben Simmons, because he no, because, he's a human being. And he made a mistake. And he made a mistake. Let it go. Yeah. He's not playing well. And now everybody's
that's all you talk about.
Yeah, that's all everybody's running a psychological profile on. I was listening to something today. Somebody said, well, he's never going to be any good anymore because I'm like, wow, he was 25 years old. Somebody said he needs to just go play pickup basketball because that's all. And then the guy said, well, only problem with pickup basketball is he can't play in the hood. So the guy was like, why? Because they said when you go in the hood, they're going to be calling them names.
But that's what that's the example of what we're talking about tonight. That's a little bit lighter, the basketball side
that's why I ended with that.
It's like but still, all they doing is trashing them instead of like, you know what, man? Like, hopefully he bounces back.
Yeah.
He does well. Because it's bigger than just his basketball. He got a family.
Just not against the Sixers.
Yeah.
Anyway, another great episode of Above Average Black Men, man. Glad to have you guys back. Next Wednesday, we won't be here.
No.
But we will have a surprise. We will have a surprise for you. So still tune in around this time. It just won't be as long, but we won't be live. Next because it's Thanksgiving and we do the whole family Thanksgiving thing and we eat a lot, man.
But it was a great episode. Felt great being back. But empower, inspire, uplift the community.
And Wayne, Derek, thank you guys so much for tuning in. X-Man, Xavier, Devin, tell them what they need to do.
What you going to do when we have 100 people? You going to read that whole list?
Yeah, I sure am. Everybody that's signing, I'm going to read your name out loud.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us. Messages, let us know some topics you guys want to hear.
People you want us to see.
If I got to add another 5 minutes at the end of the show to read everybody off, thank you for signing in, everybody.
I wanted to get to 100.
That's all right. If it's 500, we'll be here for 500 names.
Let's get those subscribers up.
Let's do it.
Word of mouth. Tell your friends, family. Check us out.
You want to hear him read your name on screen?
Yeah.
Watch us.
So you missed it last week. so they could see the guests that we had. Mm-hmm. I had a screen right here.
Oh, you.
I had a screen right here so they could see the guys, so people on YouTube could actually see the guys that were on Facebook.
You got to give it to on technology. There's a way where we can do that.
So,
Super chats.
Yeah, so I could do. See, I'm glad because I was gonna put a monitor up there.
They actually see it when they chat.
No, but they can't on YouTube. So I wanted YouTube to see the people who were on, on Facebook, who were on Zoom. So I had it set up so they could see them, man.
Well, just meet each other on Facebook.
I was like, yeah.
Follow us for a hoodie, by the way.
Definitely gotta get the music.